As a professional sex educator, it's my role to help people understand how sex, health, and lifestyle choices affect each other. One of the most common and sometimes most misunderstood areas in sexuality is the use of drugs and their impact on sexual behavior, performance, safety, and emotional well-being. Some people believe drugs make sex better, more exciting, or easier to enjoy. Others struggle with the long-term damage drug use causes to their sex life and relationships. In this script, I will walk you through the effects of drugs on sex in a clear, compassionate, and non-judgmental way. Whether you're curious, struggling, or supporting someone else, this is a safe space to learn. The illusion of better sex on drugs. Many people are drawn to the idea that using drugs, whether it's alcohol, marijuana, pills, or stimulants, will make sex more thrilling or intense. Some substances lower inhibitions, increase confidence, or create strong body sensations. But what seems exciting in the moment may come with serious consequences. Example: a person drinks heavily at a party and ends up having sex without fully remembering what happened. They later feel confused, guilty, or unsafe, and realize it wasn't the empowering experience they expected. As a sex educator, I want to emphasize this: you don't need drugs to enjoy sex. True intimacy comes from comfort, connection, trust, and clear awareness. How drugs affect consent. Consent must be clear, sober, and freely given. When someone is under the influence of drugs or alcohol, they may not be able to give valid consent, and that can lead to situations where people get hurt. When drugs are involved, judgment becomes cloudy. You may say yes to something you'd never agree to when sober, or fail to say no because you're disoriented or pressured. Example: a person using ecstasy at a club might feel overly trusting and agree to sex they later regret. Not because they were willing, but because they were too high to think clearly. Sex educators teach that sex under the influence can easily cross the line into coercion or assault. Always wait until both people are sober and alert enough to say yes with full awareness. Physical effects of drugs on sexual performance. Different drugs affect the body in different ways, especially when it comes to sexual functioning. While some might temporarily increase sensation or excitement, many drugs actually reduce arousal, delay orgasm, or cause erectile dysfunction. Let's break it down. Alcohol. In small amounts, it may lower anxiety, but too much can cause trouble getting or maintaining an erection, reduce vaginal lubrication, and lower sensitivity. Cannabis, marijuana, may increase sensation for some, but in others, it causes low energy, anxiety, or disconnection. Stimulants, like cocaine or meth, often delay orgasm or cause temporary sexual excitement, but long-term use leads to serious sexual dysfunction and emotional numbness. Opiates, like heroin, painkillers, strongly lower libido, reduce testosterone levels, and can make sex physically impossible over time. Example: a man who regularly uses cocaine finds that he can't finish during sex, leaving both him and his partner frustrated. Over time, he avoids intimacy because of shame. Sex educators emphasize the long-term reality. Drugs damage your body's ability to enjoy natural, connected sex, emotional detachment, and loss of intimacy. Sex is not just about physical pleasure. It's also about emotional bonding, vulnerability, and love. Drugs interfere with that deeper connection. People who use drugs during sex often report feeling emotionally disconnected from their partner, like they were there physically, but not mentally or emotionally. Over time, this creates a gap. Intimacy becomes mechanical. Trust erodes. Emotional safety disappears. Example: a couple who always uses pills before sex stops feeling emotionally close. One partner says, "It feels like you only want me when you're high." As a sex educator, I remind everyone that intimacy thrives in emotional presence, not altered states. The more present you are during sex, the deeper the bond becomes. Unsafe sex and risky behavior. When drugs are involved, people often forget to use protection or ignore the need for safe sex. This leads to a higher risk of STIs, sexually transmitted infections, unplanned pregnancies, and emotional regret. Substances like alcohol and meth are especially linked to risky decisions, like not using condoms, having sex with strangers, or ignoring red flags. Example: a woman at a party gets drunk and has unprotected sex with someone she barely knows. The next morning, she can't remember if protection was used and feels scared about STIs. Sex educators always say, safe sex requires clear thinking, and drugs steal that clarity. When your mind is clouded, your ability to make safe choices disappears. Addiction and its impact on sexual relationships. Regular drug use can lead to addiction, which deeply affects both sexual and emotional relationships. When someone becomes dependent on a substance, they may lose interest in sober intimacy, use sex as a way to access drugs, lie, manipulate, or betray partners, disconnect emotionally, prioritize substances over love. Example: a man uses meth regularly and starts skipping emotional check-ins with his partner. Eventually, their sex life fades, not because of lost love, but because of drug dependency. Sex educators often work with couples where addiction has replaced affection, and healing begins by returning to sober, honest intimacy. Drugs and sexual trauma. In some cases, drug-influenced sex becomes traumatic, especially when consent is violated or memory is lost. Victims may not remember what happened, feel helpless to speak out, or blame themselves. Example: a young person drinks too much at a party and wakes up in someone else's bed. They don't remember agreeing to sex and feel violated, but don't know how to talk about it. Sex educators and trauma counselors stress, drug use never makes abuse your fault. Everyone deserves safety, and no one should ever be recovery, healing, and healthy intimacy. The good news is this: healing is always possible. People who stop using drugs and begin working on their emotional health often find that their sex life becomes more fulfilling, connected, and meaningful. Recovery means learning how to feel again, how to touch, love, and connect without needing a substance. Many people in recovery report that sober sex feels more real, more emotional, and more satisfying than anything they experienced while high. Example: a woman who used to take pills before sex says, "Now that I'm clean, I feel everything more deeply, emotionally and physically." As a sex educator, I deeply believe you deserve a sex life that is healthy, joyful, and real, not one that depends on chemicals to feel good. Supporting a partner who uses drugs. If you're in a relationship with someone who uses drugs during sex, it's important to set boundaries and talk openly. Support them, but don't sacrifice your safety or emotional health. Tips from a sex educator. 1. Don't enable harmful behavior. Encourage honest conversation about why they use. Only be intimate when both are sober. Suggest therapy or recovery help if needed. Take care of your own mental health too. Example: one partner tells the other, "I care about you, but I can't have sex when you're high. I want us to connect fully, and that can only happen when we're both present." Final thoughts from a sex educator. Sex is meant to be a source of joy, connection, and love, not confusion, regret, or danger. While drugs might create a short-term sense of freedom or excitement, the long-term impact on sexual health is often painful. If you're in a relationship with someone who uses drugs during sex, it's important to set boundaries and talk openly. Support them, but don't sacrifice your safety or emotional health. Tips from a sex educator. Don't enable harmful behavior. Encourage honest conversation about why they use. Only be intimate when both are sober. Suggest therapy or recovery help if needed. Take care of your own mental health too. Example, one partner tells the other, "I care about you, but I can't have sex when you're high. I want us to connect fully, and that can only happen when we're both present." Final thoughts from a sex educator. Sex is meant to be a source of joy, connection, and love, not confusion, regret, or danger. While drugs might create a short-term sense of freedom or excitement, the long-term impact on sexual health is often painful. As a professional sex educator, I encourage everyone to explore intimacy in a sober, mindful, and emotionally safe way. When you're present, respectful, and honest with yourself and your partner, sex becomes so much more than just a physical act. It becomes a deep, beautiful form of love. Remember, you don't need drugs to feel pleasure. You don't need chemicals to feel close. You don't need to escape to experience joy. You need connection. You need safety. You need love. And you absolutely deserve all three.